This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael WOO.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm your host, Michael WOO.
And I'm Morgan Brown.
And I'm the Podfather.
And we have a special guest today.
Hi, guys.
Jenny Woon.
Hey.
Jenny.
Woo. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm awesome. Feeling great.
Yeah, we were just talking about doing a podcast sesh with another pro. So Jenny, you have a podcast.
I do.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. It's In the House podcast.
Cool.
I co-host it with Tony Singh.
Yeah, I love that podcast.
In
It's awesome.
the House.
In the
I
House.
love
In the
it.
House.
I
Yeah.
love that podcast.
How do you come up with the name of In the House podcast?
Okay, we actually narrowed it down from 50. So we
Whoa.
came up, we just
You
like
had 50
we just
names?
brainstormed.
Wow.
You know, West Coast real estate agents.
Okay.
Just anything, any word that we could think
Yeah.
of that inspired us. And
Yeah.
In the House just seemed perfect.
Yeah.
We're selling houses and we are
Is that open house reference?
that could be too. Yeah.
Have you
definitely.
ever gone to a party and you said, Jenny Woon in the house?
I will steal that from you, Michael. I will steal that from you.
Have I ever said, Michael, you in the house?
Just like that.
And then everyone just scattered away from me.
You were like, who is this weird person? This random guy walking. Who is this random guy
Does
walking
anyone
into
know
this?
that guy?
He says he's the life of the party. I don't know.
In the house. That's it. Well, so how is it? How long is it? How many episodes are you guys on right now?
I think we're at 30, I believe,
Beautiful.
and we
Wow.
just filmed another 4 yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And they're being released once a week.
Yeah, that's great. And what topics do you guys cover? Like,
A variety, business strategy tips,
Right.
Very action oriented. So
Yeah,
our last
totally.
one was like how to get your clients to refer you. So teaching your clients to do the referral.
Beautiful.
Things like yesterday we filmed one where how to select a brokerage.
cool.
And then we have some amazing guests that come on, leaders in our industry, some top producers as well.
What inspired you to do
Nice.
like a podcast?
Honestly, I made the most out of last year's pandemic,
Right.
and I saw one of Tony's post where she was kind of giving tips on IG, and I was like, you know what, Tony, you're so good. Why don't we do a podcast? And I was never a podcast listener.
Right.
I think I just wanted to just do another passion project.
Oh.
And use this platform to inspire, to give a voice to ladies in our industry. And I've been in the industry for 18 years, and I have so much to offer. I get so many phone calls coming in to me asking for tips, how to negotiate for contracts, and I just want to share with a wider audience.
I think it's so great because you guys are two powerhouse females, just like bringing it home.
Yeah.
And I love going into the segue of you being one of our woos, which is Women of Oakwyn,
Yeah.
and she's repping the sweater right now, and
I
I'm so
know.
proud.
Open
Yes.
you sweater.
It's in
It's
so
my
much better
go-to
shape.
sweater. Every Zoom call, I'm like, I'm not ready. This is my go-to.
yeah.
That's what everyone has said to me.
glove.
It's like their uniform. They're like,
Yeah.
we just put it on, and then people are like, okay, she's with Oakwyn
Yeah.
or he's with Oakwyn. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
How has it been for you for the last, first of all, 18 years? Like, congratulations. That's a huge amount of time in the industry.
Yeah.
Do you think it's changed a lot for like with regards to, especially in your field of project management, being a very male dominated front? Has it changed a lot with females coming into the industry?
It slowly is. It slowly is. And that's where I want to be able to advocate for that because we still don't see enough ladies in the construction department. We still don't see a lot in the architectural world. And I would love to see more of that. So I'm we had one, Lisa Hansen, she's she's an interior designer. And on the flip side, she never sees men, she never sees working with men in the interior design industry. So so it would be great to be able to, mesh the two together. And
What do you think is holding it back, like in the industry, to get to have that kind of female empowerment and female leadership into those segments?
I think it's just this unspoken, energetic field of what a masculine masculinity contains and what feminism like contains. So it's logic versus intuition. It's doing versus speaking. It's connecting versus independence. Collectively versus just doing it on your own. So I think there's this feminine masculine energy that is contained, and so you kind of naturally gravitate to what you're comfortable with.
Right. That's so interesting. And I think, are you finding that a lot of people, like, you must get a lot of calls from a lot of women that just are like in awe of you? I mean, like, you have, like, I think you've surpassed all of that in like a percentage wise. How much do you think in that project management side and the marketing side is female? Like, is it 1 in 10? Is it still that kind of statistic that we're trying to curve or change?
Thank you. I am so happy, so grateful to be in the arena with other ladies. Spark just highlighted this, featured this segment with like 9 other ladies of the most influential women in the new home development sector. And to see them and to be in the same arena as them was phenomenal. I'm so passionate about this.
Like, so good. So what was the major thing that has, like, what's the statistics?
Yeah.
And of like really how many people are actually in your field? Like,
yeah, I don't think there's any, like, I'm never going to compare myself to a Bob Rennie, to George Wong.
Right.
But I don't think there's any other female, like solely owned female sales and project marketing company.
Yeah.
in Vancouver.
I
Isn't
don't
that
think
amazing?
so. There could be maybe a combination of like a duo team.
There's like dozens of or more kind of companies
you're
that
in-
do project marketing, and you're probably the
I think I'm the only one that's just like single, solely like female
Wow.
company.
Wow. How's that been for you? I mean, in the sense of, number one, tackling that. You're saying that there's a big change of people's like stigmas on really what is like female to male, right? Into that. How are you using that to your advantage? Like, how are you, like, what are you walking into the meeting? Are you using that kind of feminine power, in comparison? Or are you trying to make it a really even playing field and kind of showing that everyone has the same, but you're different in a different way?
Yeah, I don't distinctively say I'm female and hear me roar. And it's more just I'm going in with confidence because I have the background and experience already. And to be honest, I don't need to pitch nowadays. Like, I don't need to pitch my story because I have proven over and over again my ability to sell and my ability just to sell up projects. So with that being said, I don't think the developers are selecting me based on me being female because for the most part, like most of the developers that I work with are male. The meetings are all male dominated, and the decision makers are male as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's more just my ability to make decisions.
Love it.
And to ensure that they're profiting. Bottom line is that they get the results that they want.
So
You're the best person for the job.
right. Being
Love
in
it.
that kind of a lot of the times being the kind of the female in the room with a lot of other kind of really type A, like very masculine. Like, what's your experience? Like, how's your experience with that? Have you like had to overcome anything? Like, how does that?
Have you had any discrimination at all?
I have on the smaller end of like one-on-one client interaction. I've experienced firsthand sexual harassment.
Oh, wow,
I've
really? What
experienced
happened?
racism. It was last summer. I was coming out of a listing presentation, and he made some moves on me, and got really close to me, and
Oh man.
yeah. So and I used the Instagram platform in the house to speak about my experience and to give some tips to listeners on how to avoid situations like that and what you do.
I highly recommend every woman to listen to that podcast, just so everyone knows. I've listened to it. It's so good. And even your like the Instagram, you had it for going on for a while, and I think that was created such awareness, Jenny. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, Meredith Shooter, she was attacked in one of her open houses, and she created this app. It's a Protect app, and basically allows people to like schedule, like to share their schedule, and has like an emergency kind of button. And yeah, one thing that maybe the real estate board should
get ahead
on.
Yeah. They should really, and it's interesting for me. I've had the same situations happen. My partner and my assistant are both female. They've had problems as well. Calls,
Random texting. I had to take my profile picture off of bus benches, and now it's a team profile picture, but I had one just on myself and I had to take it down.
Yeah. We've had lots of, and the best thing that we have is we do find my friends with my group. And then even just knowing that, where they are and what they're doing is like to have a kind of a buddy system virtually. But it's so nice to hear that. It's nice that you're giving back to that awareness. How was it back to Michael's point of like how that obviously the sexual harassment that has happened, a couple racist things that have happened.
Sexism has happened in the boardrooms. Absolutely. Where the developer mentioned I wasn't allowed to be driving a better car than them. And ridiculous things like that, and I don't think they're aware. Like I wouldn't say they're bullying unintentionally. I think it's just naturally just comes out because it's so
masculine,
like locker room type of talk.
Right.
Old boys club.
Yeah,
that's the vibe I feel for a lot of that same segment.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you walk in the room, Jenny, there is like nothing but female energy that just like rides thin and like settles the room. And I think sometimes that's what they feel, and they're just kind of counteracting it, trying to make some balance. But yours is yours is way stronger. I'm like, if I was in the room with Jenny and I was a guy, I'd be like in awe because I think you've put in such a, number one, your experience is, and your proven results have been phenomenal. Do you think that women have to prove themselves more than men?
I do think so. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's coming in automatically. It's where maybe our approach is a bit softer. Our approach is more of a feeling. And it could be financial as well. Maybe they don't think that we're in that financial position to have that control or stance,
or like opinion on it.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Because ultimately, I mean, they end up making the final decision. It's their money, the client's money, right?
Yeah.
But I think coming in prepared and knowing your numbers and why it should work and how it's going to unfold.
Yeah, for sure.
So something I really respect about Jenny, and Jenny and I are friends, and I'm just so like happy to have her in my life. But something I really respect about you is your leadership ability.
Yes.
So your group has so the West One team, the group that your project marketing team. You've been together for a long time. You've kept people together, and so I really love to learn more about that. And kind of just if you can share your experience as a leader, female, male, as a leader.
So the way our team structure works is there's me, and then there's 5 other team members, and we collaborate both hand in hand, and they've been so good working in projects and in the resale business, making Medallion over the years. And we have one full-time salaried, unlicensed individual named Miranda. So she handles all our marketing, and she's awesome. She's taken our brand to the next level.
Right.
And she even helps out on branding our projects, the master plan communities that we help with the developers. So there's so many moving parts in our business, and we get along so well because we add a lot of fun and humor. It's funny, I don't know if I should mention this, but Dominic was catfish. Like someone used his profile pic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in our group chat. Someone used his profile pic and and borrowed some of our photos from our West One Instagram
Yeah.
and like used it on like Hinge or Bumble.
Oh,
and so
really?
and this is like just a joke, like,
Yeah.
and Sam, like he's kind of like the single guy that catches all the girls' eyes. So we kind of like pick at each other, but
Yeah.
in really in a fun way. And the way we work is
a family, like,
totally
yeah,
family environment, you know, and we're so supportive of Andrew's family when he had to give birth.
Right.
We're like right there helping him with his showings
Sure.
that was pre-booked that day.
Oh, great.
And yeah, we all just really are glued together in a really good way.
Yeah, because you always see like a lot of real estate teams, and there's like they'll do like a team pick, and then all of a sudden like people are coming in and out and in and out. But then with Jenny's team, they've
Solid.
stayed solid and
Solid.
stayed together,
And you've grown
They seem
it.
so happy as well working with you. So how do you keep the enthusiasm up? How do you keep like everyone gelled together?
So pretty much we're on a group chat
Right.
every day. We're talking.
Yeah.
And I'm with them in terms of every quarter, every year, talking to them about the tools,
Nice
making sure they have
structure.
all the tools they need to make sure that they're excelling in their business. So every year, going back to their goals on a personal and professional level,
Wow, okay.
and ensuring that they're
really
meeting that
hands-on.
on a quarterly basis. I'm very active and very generous on my leads. So anybody who's been a client of mine, they're now working with them. And I think the biggest thing is like letting go of my ego and them owning West One.
Right.
I love that. I think that's the big differentiator between like a team member, like to going to a team lead than to going to like a full on just
Yeah, it doesn't
general
feel like
team.
an employee-employer relationship.
Yeah,
It feels really much like
all for one for all.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like a really solid team, and I think that requires a really great leader to be able to create that atmosphere, create that ecosystem, create that environment. Like if you were to say some like top few tips that you have for like people that are emerging leaders about how to keep a team together, how to keep them motivated, what would those top 2 or 3 things be?
Very good question. And there's not one or two single things. I think
Okay.
there's the doing and the being. So the
Okay. Doing
the
and
doing is the communication and the decision making. Is being able to see the bigger picture and then connecting it backwards. So that way you're approaching it with a very clear direction on how to finish and have exponential outcomes and really good results. And what that means is making decisions by orchestrating, by delegating, by prioritizing, so that way the team knows what their role is, and to get to that bigger picture and to basically execute effectively. And then the being is, as a leader, being courageous and sacrificing. And what that means to me is having this bigger vision of having a growth mindset, being ambitious, being unapologetic, and being able to allow them, like creating, it's my responsibility to create a safety net for them so that they know that I'm making decisions with deliberate practice and intentions, and it's for the greater good of the team, not just for myself.
Love it.
I want to unpack that a little bit more. So you said 2 things that I find like really fascinating. So one is this element of sacrifice that you mentioned about being like, so can you share like an experience where you've sacrificed for the team?
Yeah, just a simple like transaction, something simple like that is we were working on this particular listing for a very long time with a developer, a project, and we already have set commission rates and the splits throughout the team. But this particular listing just took so long to sell, and I said, you know what? I'm not gonna take this commission. You guys did showings after showings, brought me contracts and offers. The developer was the one that declined the offers. And so they showed a lot of perseverance and supporting this listing. And so I felt like they deserved all
of
the
it.
commission. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep any of it just because they deserve it.
Yeah.
Something simple like that.
Well, that's not simple, because in business, it's like you think to yourself, if you think in business, all for your, like, you think about who's number one, like, but that's like a very different, when you look at like, a lot of Wolf of Wall Street, Gary Keller, or Gary,
Glenn
Carey, Glenn Ross, and
Mm.
like this type of environment that's like sales team environments that are just like kill or be killed. But that's so refreshing, and having that element of like self-sacrifice.
How did they take it when you said that to them?
There's a thank you, Jenny. Like just a thank you, Jenny.
Appreciation.
I did it on the trade record sheet, without telling them. And then I said, you know what, maybe they should know about it. So I just texted them, hey guys, like this is what I did on the trade record sheet. And they said it was a thank you. Life moves on. I don't need anything else.
Praise
Right.
on that. Yeah.
I
Well,
don't.
that's incredible.
There's a saying in like the Jewish culture that the biggest like compliment is the unsung hero, like in the sense of, it's never about being appreciated for the actual doing of something. It should be something you should just do it out of like the kindness of your heart. And then if no one knows about it, it actually gives you way more in abundance back.
Mhm. And that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
you want everyone around you to rise to the top. You want to see them succeed, and they'll move weights for you in
Yes.
return.
I love it.
That's really thinking the long game for sure. That's amazing. The second thing I wanted to unpack with you that you mentioned in the doing section is decision making. So Jenny, how do you make decisions? What goes through your mind? What's a step-by-step process?
Do you have a formula?
Yeah,
Do you have a formula
Jenny's
down?
making a big decision.
Yeah.
What
About
does
the
she
team.
do? About the team, or a big decision, life, business, whatever.
First of all, is it the right thing to do? So where it doesn't get anyone in trouble and where everybody wins.
So it's the right thing to do for me, for them, and for everyone. Kind of
For the company,
for the company.
for the brand.
group. Yeah.
Yes, for the brand.
Great.
I think everything from there just unfolds naturally, just because we hold a reputation in our industry, and when you're looking after the company will last forever. I'm not going to last forever, so you want that company to sustain its reputation and follow the values that we've set.
Oh, that's great.
That's amazing.
Jenny, what do you do for fun? Like you're like a total first of all,
You talked about like passion projects.
Passion
You
projects.
have a lot of passions.
yeah, let's get in there.
You're a passionate person.
I love meditating. I love poem writing. I actually
Poem
signed
writing?
up. I do. That's something that a lot of people don't know about me.
Jenny.
Wow.
So I signed up for InQ.
Walt Whitman over here.
I love writing. So I signed up for this 3-week virtual workshop with InQ. He is one of Oprah's Super Soul 100.
I know who he
And
is.
yeah, and so he
oh my God.
on his second time, usually he does this in person, but with COVID, he's doing virtual workshops. And for 2 hours a week, we're in this workshop with him. And there's people from Germany, from Paris, from the States, and our last session, we cried. We were crying because he read out some of his personal unpublished poems, and then it was our turn, based on his prompts, to write our own poems based on forgiveness and for forgiving someone or ourselves. That's
a
based on an
very
incident that
profound-
happened.
That's a very
And out of 200 listeners and that tuned in, that signed up for this program, 3 of them read out their poems to the rest of use the platform of the Zoom and read out their poems, and we were all crying. Like I was crying, and it just makes me want to be better at poem writing and expressing.
so beautiful.
Yeah, so I do that. I play a lot of sports.
Do you have a poem that you've written that you'd like to share?
I don't have. Luckily, I don't have my notebook. I just have my phone.
How convenient.
I would love to hear one of
There
your
was a
poems.
man from Nantucket.
Yeah, and you know what?
limerick.
I
Yeah,
know I have so many IG accounts, and I have one account that I created called Self Love Bombs, and I have yet to post anything.
Oh,
That's your
'Cause
for poem.
I
Your
will.
forgiveness
I
poem.
promise. I promise. I'm just shy right at this moment to be. I've been learning to be vulnerable and open up over the past year.
oh, that's
and
so
share my
much
story.
do you feel
beautiful.
like that was
a block? Or do you feel like that was because brought on from COVID for you to actually see yourself like a little bit more?
A deeper
inner
introspective
yeah, because
look.
you're like not as like out there with so many other people.
Yeah. I think I've always been like that. I've been very self-aware all the time. And I feel like because now that we have these platforms, it's a lot easier for me to share it
That's so nice.
with
Yeah.
people that are close to me.
You have a very good speaking voice. Like on your podcast, I like listening to you because it's like so soothing. Just so you know.
Everybody says that, but I feel like I always say, or maybe Braden's just taking those out.
No, it's like so soothing. But you've like, I think that's amazing. But you also are like a major sport woman as well. She is like always on like I feel like you're on like a kiteboard or a surfboard or like everything.
The ocean is my, like Mother Nature is my thing. Like I love the ocean. I feel like if I was to best describe myself, I'm like a wave. I'm always amiable and changing and evolving. So I'm one wave which connects to another wave, and then I carry on to another wave, and then I'm another wave, and then I come across a log, which I can just go around and navigate, whatever situation. So it's like I just kind of compare
beautiful.
myself that way, like I'm a wave in the ocean. So I'm just
I'm
a
gonna
little
ask
droplet.
I'm going to ask
in this
everybody
world.
how they compare themselves in life, and then
What would you be,
nothing-
Morgan?
What would you be?
Think I'm gonna describe you.
No,
Describe each other. Describe each other.
Careful, Michael.
Okay,
Shit.
don't get canceled.
I love your conversation. Who's the little spoon then? Who's the big spoon last time?
I'm definitely the big spoon.
Right? She's the big spoon.
I get way more.
I find it's really interesting that a lot of people are just very one dimensional, but Jenny, as obviously so multi-dimensional,
Definitely.
this incredible creative side with. I didn't even know you did poetry.
Me
Like I'm
neither.
actually, I would love to read your poetry. Actually,
I'm so excited.
I'm very excited about this. And then, and then this kind of like natural side or physical side, athletic side. I know that you like to surf and stuff like that, and you're entrepreneurial, like in business as well. So like, have you always kind of had a lot of different interests, or is it is this something that you've learned in time that you want to experience all these things? Like what?
I think it's my growth mindset of being infinite, of no definition, of no boundaries. And traveling has really helped because it allows me to become friends with so many different people in the world and seeing the world in a different with a different eye. I love sitting down on a wall, like a wall, and just drawing like buildings out of the blue and being alone in my own space. So I'm very comfortable with a lot of inner deep work.
Deep work.
So tell me an epiphany you had on a trip.
On a trip. Oh gosh, let me see here. It's been a while since I've been on a trip.
I
so-
know. I was like, it's been
Let's
like
like-
2
let's-
years.
It's like go back.
What's
to,
your biggest epiphany? Your biggest epiphany in your life on a trip? One that just resonates right away. Like, oh, I should do this, or I should be like this, or I should, or maybe I should see the world a little differently because of this kind of thing.
One of the things that I do, I visit a lot of orphanages and do a lot of charity work. So I do a lot of shoreline cleanup voluntarily. And one of my experiences was visiting an orphanage in El Salvador, where I was helping, like playing soccer with the kids, playing board games, and they were so happy. They were so happy with us visiting them, and it just showed me how simple life is, like how you don't need a lot.
Wow.
And even just relating to my personal experience where I lost a beautiful big house. I lost assets. I lost money, to someone else. And that stuff is not important. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because your health is most important. You're just being able to sit and touch and drink clean water. That to me is probably the biggest, like just being grateful for being who I am, for being alive.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you can really like.
That
change that
perspective
in.
is so refreshing because a lot of people would face that same thing, coming from having all this stuff and then all of a sudden it being taken away, and it would break them, right? It would totally just, like I've seen
So many people
just be broken and like they just wallow in their own
Self.
Self-pity.
I don't need a lot of things. I think
Yeah, but Morgan is like,
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Morgan's making herself laugh.
Wallow. No, I think you're right. I think one of our agents who just got back from Bali, and I was talking to him for a little bit yesterday, and he said to me, Morgan, it's all about those like experiences. Everything else doesn't matter. It's those experiences, and I think that that's so true. And we're so lucky we have a lot of agents and a lot of realtors in our company that align with that exact tone. It's never about boasting. The ego is very little in our company. And it's because they're willing to share experiences, build experiences. And I think, Jenny, you do that so well. And I want to just kind of dive into that really quickly about what do you do for your clients that enrich their experience with the whole overall of your service?
Communication. So I would say being really upfront and proactive to reach out to them. So instead of them asking me, hey, like, where's this material? When can we have this deadline? I'm ahead by 5 steps to give them the strategy and maneuver it and navigate it if it doesn't work. And it's quick decisions so that they're not sitting there waiting for things to happen.
Yeah, it's a great value proposition there, especially in your industry, like in the actual.
Were you always like that, or did you learn that?
I was always like that.
Yeah. I
You
guess
think it's in
I could
you.
see that, like,
Yeah.
because it's funny because there's this element of like nature and nurture, right? Like, what happens to you, and you change because of what happens to you, and then this is just who you are, and like trying to like balance both sides, and kind of like. So I always like to decipher with people, like, did something happen? Like, I look at Morgan.
What happened?
Like, what happened to you?
Weird father.
No.
I think about that the other way more than you think about that. That is
And
a
I'm
truth.
just kind of like, okay, like, did something like to make it so, for example, like, just as a note from previously in our conversation, you talked about like being more open, being a bit more vulnerable. A lot of people were vulnerable when they were a kid, but then something happened to them, and then they like stopped ever doing that, and they're just traumatized from ever doing that again. And it's relearning how to like open up again. And it's like this beautiful journey that people get to take for the most part when I've heard of that from others in the past. And we're all humans, right? So it's always kind of interesting to kind of decipher these things, as we grow and as we experience different things. So like that's
And I think having done so much introspective work, in order to be compassionate for others, you have this, I just have this high level of emotional attunement for others that I'm working with. And so being able to really acknowledge what they're going through, their thought process, their culture background, their birth order, like all that plays into effect of how they make decisions and their behaviors. And so
you don't just tap into the sweet spirits.
That's just a small component of that. Yeah. And bottom line profits, right? So it's
The logic side.
the logic side of things. And but I think because I have that, maybe my proposition, my unique proposition, which the other marketing companies don't have, is that I'm very emotionally in tune. And that this high level emotional intelligence that comes naturally to me.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. That's like, someone definitely would never say that. You're the only one saying that, which is great.
Yeah, most people are like talking about like how bragging about
What they've done.
Yeah, like this is like
Look at
this
what
is who
I've
I know,
done,
this is what I've done.
So what is down the pipeline for you and West One? Like what's in
the
tell me in
future?
the future.
Yeah, so
Crystal
much.
ball with Jenny.
So I'm going to do a shameless plug here.
Love it.
Pursuit 365 is my latest project. Are you in the book? Or?
No.
Okay, but there's a couple of agents.
Shelley Smee
is in the book as well, and and it's a 365-page book that's got published, and it's bestseller on Amazon. I'm going to pick it up on Saturday, and we dedicated one page to it about my story. So there's unsung heroes in any industry in that book. So that's coming out to Indigo in chapters.
Oh, cool.
For West One, we have 8 projects. Either
8 projects.
Yes, 8 projects.
Of what's
on top of resale.
Wow.
That's big.
Yes.
People.
And that ranges between
Jenny, I need a loan.
Jenny, I need a loan.
Anyone needs a loan out there? We know who to ask.
Jenny, 40%.
Okay, so 8 projects. How big? What's the smallest project? What's the biggest project?
20 million is the smallest project,
Wow.
and our biggest is probably about 150 million. And that ranges from like low rise to townhouses and duplexes as well.
Amazing.
And
So-
where exactly is it? From where, like location?
Geographic location. Kits as the farthest west.
West, okay.
Which is Arbutus and 7th, called
Perfect.
Pi. That's coming out in 2 months.
Wow.
They're a developer that I've worked with for years. Furthest south would be Brick House 22, project that I have personally invested in, and I love the concept of it. Very modern, and it's just different from the traditional Tudor style. That's with a developer that I've worked with for many years.
Is that in Richmond?
That's in Richmond. Yeah, Richmond. Furthest east would be, and then I have some in Burnaby, East Van, and the furthest east at the moment is Coquitlam. So one that's currently for sale, which is that mailbox turned into a mail truck that turned into a sales truck.
Sales truck. I like that. That was such a good
which
concept.
is cool concept.
Super cool
great,
concept.
Good PR. We're down to 3 homes out of 20,
Wow, amazing.
even with the
These are
competition that we
townhouses
have.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Townhouses.
And that townhouse market, I think you're hitting it right at the
Perfect
right
timing.
spot.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
there's a demand.
what about with your team? Or is it to stay the same? Is it to build out? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, out of running a team, there's a lot of weight on our shoulders, and you guys know, and I feel so responsible. I think the size is really healthy right now with 6 of us. I want to add in an assistant, another assistant, but I feel like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book needs to be rewritten. I don't think we need to have that many employees on the team with all the
Showing
technology that's
specialists.
happening.
Yeah.
With all the technology that's happening, everything is just automated now and way more efficient. So I've learned over the years to scale my business.
Right.
And I don't do one-off myself. I don't do one-off like listings or showings anymore. I work primarily on strategy with my developers, and I think it's really healthy. And then I'll just do sub agency, and getting all agents from our office to help with projects.
You should rewrite that book. New task.
Would you like to be an author as well?
I could.
I think so.
But I like the scale the business concept. I think
Yes.
that's good for. I feel like I read that book every year.
Yeah.
Just because it's a refresher. But you're right.
It needs to be rewritten.
It needs to be. There's like segments of the book. Like there's like stuff to take from it, and then stuff to.
There's
course.
some really
Oh,
key
yeah.
elements
Yeah.
that book, like I don't know if specifically they didn't introduce it, but there's some huge key elements that I think are vital in any real estate business. Obviously, listings, lead leverage aspect, but how to get there. I think
I would
Yeah.
love to write it. I've
Right.
always, my bucket list is to write a book. And I was like, what am I going to write about? So I could write that.
Yeah.
It could be women empowerment.
I love
Might
it.
Yeah.
publish my poems one day.
I love it.
I would love to read your poetry, by the way.
I think that's such a nice. I feel like you like meditate and then you read a beautiful poem and you're just like so beautiful and you're just sitting there and all this like great energy is coming in the room. So it's so great.
Last question. Sorry, we're okay,
last
right?
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were to make one change, Jenny, like you're to make one change today, what would that change be
One
in
change.
life, not just business? Yeah.
This is a really big question, and a very good question.
Especially because she has deep reflection, so she knows. Like,
This is a question we can ask Jenny, but not everyone.
no, it's true.
It has to do with women parity, with parity and women equality. I really look forward to educating male and female about the sexual harassment
endure.
we face.
Yeah.
The challenges that we face as women, and just being a voice for the women in our industry. Getting them to rise to the top.
I think you are becoming a very big, you are a voice in our industry, and you represent such a great message, of, just as you mentioned. So,
You're
on our side,
you're an inspiration.
Absolutely.
Jenny.
And we're so proud of you, Jenny. And
we're so lucky to be working with you.
Yeah, we're so lucky to have you at Oakwyn.
Yes.
And being able to work with you every day, and you're a big part of our company, and really one of our thought leaders, our culture leaders.
Yes.
And I can't wait till you write a poem about Oakwyn. Ode to Oakwyn. All right. and then Morgan will wrap it.
Yeah, I'll wrap it.
And I'll,
okay.
Me and
You'll
Adina
dance to it.
Yeah, I'll
right?
dance to it. And Brayden can beatbox.
Me and Adina will rap to it.
Yeah. And I think on that note, guys, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And
thank you, guys.
Jenny, for being part of the Oakwyn podcast. Now, if you like this podcast, what should people do, Morgan?
You should go to, number one, you should rate us 5 out of 5. Or give us some tips on what you'd like to hear on our Oakwyn podcast. Or go to oakwyn.com/join and write into that message box, pod 2021. And you will get a free mystery swag and meet one of our great leaders at Oakwyn. Thanks so much for joining, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thanks,
Jenny.
guys.
Jenny.
Thank you. See you later.